Welcome to the 5th episode of the Movement Hub podcast, the drop set.
This is the drop set, guys.
The drop set.
We're catching our flow. We're getting our rhythm. We're getting our bearings in. You know, things are smoothing it out.
Yeah.
Smoothing is not a real word. Hold for editing. Yes, that was really good. How was your weekend, Manny?
It was good, man. Nice and chill. I did a 5K race here in Washington Heights in New York City.
And you made it out with your life, too.
I did. And I PR'd. I did a 6:55 minute per mile pace. So I was really running hard as I could. It was fun. What about you guys?
I find it very interesting that people, when I hear PRs, I always hear weights. Like, oh, it's a PR weight. It's a squat PR. It's a deadlift PR, clean and jerk. It's very interesting that there are running PRs, which is fair. I think that's a common thing. I don't know the running world, so PRs are PRs. I think that's a good thing.
PRs are PRs. You call it PR or you call it PBs, personal bests, so it could be a little bit of anything.
Producer Haley, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
Moving your face.
Come on, man.
Move the mic closer to your... Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, there you go.
There you go. Come on, man. We're already on 5th episode. Get the shit down.
One of these days we'll get it right. Yeah.
Or just get a headset situation.
There you go.
Then we look like human kettlebells. That's what it is. With a headset over our head.
I've never thought about it that way.
That's what it is. We have a handle over our head. We are human kettlebells. Yeah.
All right, cool.
There you go.
We went from introduction to human kettlebells. There you go.
That's what it is.
Awesome. Anyway, there's a little topic that I wanted to start off this episode with. I was listening to a podcast over the weekend by Rich Roll, and he was interviewing some guy talking about decision fatigue. And quite interesting. Do you know what decision fatigue is?
Vaguely. I think it's like there's anxiety over... The way I would attribute it is sort of looking at the menu at the Cheesecake Factory. And I feel like there's too many things to choose from and I get overwhelmed. Am I on the right... Am I somewhere close?
Yeah, no, you're right.
Okay,
you're right,
cool.
Spot on with this analogy.
Awesome.
Cheesecake Factory, you said?
Have you been?
I have.
Okay, yeah, that's what it is.
Hey, there you go. Free cheesecake for 2 years.
Usually, Jersey, they're big on diners, and they have like this overwhelming like thesis of like a booklet, 30 pages deep of menus for every single animal. So
exactly, yeah. So I'm just gonna read it off so that way I don't mess this up. But decision fatigue refers to the deteriorating quality of decisions made by an individual after a long session of decision making. So the way that I understand it is there's just too many different options. Mm-hmm. You're trying to make a choice, and by the sheer time of trying to make the choice, you get fatigued of actually making the choice. So what I think about it as trying to correlate this to in the gym is that most of the time I see a lot of people coming into the gym not even knowing what to do. And they're trying to decide on the spot of what to do that day, which I've done for quite some time now. But I also have a huge background in how to program, design, what exercises you probably should do first over the other. But that's a little topic that they went over, which I really admire and also want to talk about when it comes to training. So I know that you run IPA, Ironbound Performance Athletics here in Jersey City. And, you guys always have a plan when it comes to somebody who's coming to your classes. Now, how much chaos do you think that there will be if everything was on the fly?
Like what would be on the fly? Like
the workout.
Like if you were to do every single movement for that day.
Just like coming in, the coach comes in, doesn't have anything planned out, and then boom, creates the workout there and then.
I really think that running my business since 2017, I really run it with an iron fist. And I want to make sure we follow a skeleton and follow the rules. Like in John Wick, without rules, we would be like the animals. So I want to make sure when people come into IPA that we are not savages. We want to follow something of routine that is coherent, has some thought behind it, and at any point we'll explain why we're doing it. Now, I can't explain that in box gyms, in the wild. Let's say a 24-hour fitness, let's say an Equinox, any of these types of gyms where people go in and they have every equipment at their disposal and then just do whatever it is they want. It turns into chaos and pure anarchy. And I don't believe that that's the best form of government for human beings. And I don't think it's the best form of governing exercise in fitness.
Yeah, I agree. I think the one advantage that smaller gyms have over big box gyms is that you create this environment where you don't have a lot of options, so you are left with whatever you have in front of you, and you have still yet with a kettlebell you could create 100 different exercises. But if you had a whole gym that has a whole stack of dumbbells, whole stack of kettlebells, and every piece of machine that you can ever think of, I think a lot of people who come into the gym without a plan would probably have a harder time getting through their workout, especially if they don't have any programs in front of them.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I think to mention another company in our fitness industry.
He is dropping names today.
Well,
Let's go.
Well, the big C word in this industry that we've spoken about before. They actually, to their credit, I will say that they've done a thing that's kind of cool that's been happening for like the last decade, and that's been introducing WODs. So they've popularized the term WOD, workout of the day. And I don't know what's going on right now. A lot of people have de-affiliated from the C word. But back then, everything was centralized with headquarters. So their HQ created WOD. And from my understanding, I think F45 or Orange Theory, correct me if I'm wrong, listeners, they follow fact checker Haley's on it. All right. They follow a centralized program. There's actually a Reddit on Orange Theory that if there's an Orange Theory in China, there's like a 24 hour window that passes by. They have to follow the same program. So people will know ahead of time through the Reddit what the workout of the day is for a Orange Theory or F45.
Yeah. Do you?
Yes, confirmed. Workout schedules formatted. Every gym across the globe does the same workout.
There you go.
Interesting.
Which I like the movie The Founder, which is about Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's. And what he wanted to do was to make sure if you get a Big Mac in Hawaii, you're going to get the same Big Mac in Osaka, Japan. So everything is always the same product, which is a form of control, governance. And it limits the decision fatigue that people would have if you were to decide on your own.
Right. I think a lot of people just want to, well, specifically for the gym, I think that you're already coming in and you're not just sitting around having a service, right? So the way I was thinking about it on my way here is there's so many barber shops that are already opening up, right?
In Jersey City.
In Jersey and everywhere.
On this block specifically, it's crazy.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
But so you come in, all you have to do is sit down, tell them what you want. But when it comes to the gym, you show up, you have to have a plan in hand, and you have to execute that plan. So it's very different from all these other type of services where you show up, things get done for you, versus in the gym, you show up and you still have to do the work yourself.
That is true.
So what I think about with the whole decision fatigue aspect of the gym is that when you come in with a plan, it's a little bit easier to navigate when it compared to if you were just to come in and willy-nilly everything. So I think that a lot of people, especially in 2024, that you should probably already have a plan scheduled out when it comes to the gym, or you have somebody else take care of that plan for you. i.e., come to Ironbound Performance Athletics because they got you taken care of. So anyway, that was a quite interesting topic that I stumbled upon last week that I wanted to talk about on this. Do you have anything else? Do you want to add on to that?
I think it's just it's a cliche term, but it really applies to everyday life. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail, and fitness is no different than any other factor in your life, whether it be relationships, your job, your work schedule, when you eat, when you go out and walk the dog. Everything must have some sort of structure in order for things to work, like clockwork.
Right.
So I would say when it comes to fitness, you find something that is already planned out. Find programs, research a little bit, do like a quick 15-minute search to find any program, something that has like the most reviews, whatever, and stick with it. And then at the end, make that decision whether that worked for you or not.
Right. And then you can refine it. You can refine the workouts, choose the ones that you really like doing, choose the ones that you think that you're really strong in, and then dump the other ones that you don't really like.
That's correct. Or you could go to a gym like IPA, like the C word, like F45. You could just follow what they do and let them take over, let them take control. And then you will reserve your mental capacity, bandwidth, for other things that you consider important.
Right. So all in all, have a plan ahead. Make sure that when you come in, you do the work and you leave all the guesswork out of it. Just make sure you come in with the plan, do it. That's it. Plain and simple.
There you go.
Cool. And there's another topic that I want to talk about when it comes to progress in the gym, when it comes to confidence, when it comes to understanding and knowing yourself. And a little topic that I stumbled upon again this week was self-efficacy. Basically, the confidence that you have, or I'm just going to read it again. I don't want to bullshit all these words and stumble. But anyway, self-efficacy.
I'll try to follow along
There you go.
with my caveman reptilian brain.
I just Google everything. But anyway, self-efficacy is with people with higher forms of self-efficacy develop higher interest in the activity that they are participating in. They are able to recover fast and bounce back from setbacks because of the high belief that they are able to complete a task.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the way that I understand this too is that the more that you understand the task at hand, the more interest that you have with it, the more successful that you are going to be to achieve whatever goal that you want to achieve.
Sure.
So when it comes to the gym, I believe that if you have higher forms of self-efficacy, you have higher belief in yourself, that even though, let's say, you are competing, even though that you don't complete a lift, you know for a fact that if you come back stronger, you are able to do this lift next time, rather than beating yourself down because you are a failure because you weren't able to deadlift 135 like you planned to.
Can you tell me, I feel like this is an interview question.
Uh-oh.
Tell me a time where you endured a trouble. How would you say you've encountered this in your training history?
Oh, I mean, plain and simple. I got injured plenty of times.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with specifically this topic is, I think as a personal trainer, I identify as somebody who has to be knowledgeable of all the exercises, all the movements, anything that's related when it comes to the gym. And for a person, for at least for me, a personal trainer to get injured on the job, it's probably the last thing you want happening. So that's a little setback. But at least for me, that when I did get injured, I think a lot of people will, say that this is not for me. I got hurt. I don't want this to happen again. I am just not going to lift at all, and I'm going to sit on my couch and hopefully that my body heals itself by resting and sitting down. And because I have higher confidence in myself that I was going to be able to bounce back, I just took it day by day. And I was confident that I was going to be able to bounce back. And after a couple years, I was. And I think a lot of people are not able to have the patience to endure all those years of, feeling something that you haven't felt before, especially if it's a little debilitating.
Sure.
So to answer your question, basically it's me getting injured. And I had confidence in myself. in order to complete a task, which was get my body back to normal and, just hit the gym again. What about you? What point in your life?
I would say on that note, like I feel like trainers that have been injured. I mean, where have we heard that before?
Yeah.
I feel like
if you don't get injured as a personal trainer, you're not pushing hard enough.
I think like
No, don't hurt yourself, guys.
don't quote us on that. We didn't say that. But I will say that Dan John will say this too, that there are some instances where injuries are acceptable.
Ooh.
And I will say I agree at this. At the highest level of competition, especially those that require you, have some sort of monetary goal, I think it's okay. People that play sports professionally, Dan John will be the first person to tell you that, hey, he's paid his kids' tuition from throwing a discus. So because of that experience, it led him to coaching, it led him to writing books. He's been injured in discus, but it's paved the way monetarily for his life to be for the better.
What about your own personal experience? At what point did you experience a very hard blow to your own life, whether that's training or not, and you were able to bounce back from it?
I mean, not including injury, I do feel like a sense of mortality when it comes to my capacity. Being in my mid-30s and being born in the 1900s,
You're making it sound like it was so long time ago.
it was...
Damn. Hey, my God. I was born in the 1900s.
I feel every bit of my age. Now I am very capable. I'm strong. I'm capable, but I do feel like I'm not what I was before. So now I have to be in this position of going within my limits and using that as experience to share to other people. And God bless these 20-year-olds that think they're immortal, I've been told, like, hey, wait till you get to my age. And I was always that stubborn person. I'm like, nah, old man.
Not me.
That's never going to be me. I'm going to live forever.
And then that 3 goes in front of the 2. And your knees start hurting.
Yeah, it's hard to wake up in the morning. And then just like I get hangovers very quickly. Liquid IV is now my best friend. And I hope they sponsor us soon. But
that would be dope.
Just name dropping, sprinkling out there.
Everybody sponsor us right now,
please. It's just going through this period. I think it's not debilitating. Don't get me wrong. I think it's very enlightening in my point, and I am willing to share that with people. From obviously I obviously look like a jock, that was very popular in high school. But I will say that, hey, things start to slow down and I could just, I could be in that position where I could inform those who are not there yet.
Speaking of being a jock, so here's a question for you. Mm-hmm. So what do you think is the biggest difference when working on your self-improvement, or in this case, let's just talk about fitness? Mm-hmm. So working on your fitness in high school versus working on your fitness in your 30s. What do you think is the biggest difference when framing what that outcome is going to be for you at both stages?
Well, one thing, I can't compare my high school adolescent times to adolescence nowadays. Growing up, I grew up with the internet. So as I was in my adolescent stage, so was the internet. So things like Google was popping up, and we didn't know how to use it. And we look at stupid videos. We look at things we should not be watching at 15 years old. I
don't know what you're watching, but
I don't know. Hey, we were trying to figure some stuff out. We're all figuring some stuff out at that time.
Okay,
but information was not as abundant as it is now.
Agreed.
So most of my information was pretty much from other people, whether you believe it or not. Obviously, this guy's the biggest person in the gym. He must know something. So I'll take his word as
Gospel.
Yeah, as gospel. And and then it was up to me to figure out if it did work for me. But now we go into going back to your point on decision fatigue. Information is now everywhere. And now it's
don't
just
know what is right.
yeah.
What is true.
And now people are like, oh, we're evidence-based, whatever that means. You guys are all hippies. There's a lot of gatekeepers out there when it comes to this types of information. So I would say back then was more trial and error. This one, I've had I go through things based off of what I experience and the people that I train and coach. And I train high school students. I've trained professional, semi-pro athletes, and then just basic moms, dads, people that just weekend warriors. Those are the types of people that I train nowadays, and I'm trying to figure out what works for them.
Cool.
So, and then I base it off that. And then I'm very skeptical of things that I hear nowadays too. So, and that's why we created this podcast to cut through the bullshit and figure out what's good and what's not. And we're here to decide for you.
And these are only, I was about to say, these are only our self-imposed opinions. But I guess with Josh, this is gospel as well.
Well, yes, you could, you could believe
This
what
is
you
the truth.
You could believe what you want to believe, but I'm right, and it's fine. Okay. Why not? All right.
Celebrating small wins. What do you think about it? Do you think you do enough of it? Do you don't do any of it? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, in my mid 30s,
Born in the 90s.
born in the 1900s. There's a lot of time where, and I'm just speaking for myself, I don't know how everyone else is, but there's a time where I'm very introspective now. I'm very, I look back at what I've done and what I'm doing now, and I'm focusing on like what's working for me. What was your question? I don't know where I'm going with this.
Answering my question, bro.
Look, no, don't hold for edit. This is my career in future politics, all right? Like, where
Excuse me.
just don't answer the question, all right?
That was not my question. Celebrating small wins.
So there we go,
Do
celebrating
you do
small wins.
Any of it? Enough of it? Or not at all?
I feel like I am doing that now. I feel like, hey, getting that workout in is honestly a small win. Getting your workout 3 times a week is a small win. Getting to run outside, getting to walk outside, it was like 64 degrees this past Sunday, and I made it a point that it was like, me and Haley were like, let's just go outside. We need to take a walk, and then just absorb cosmic rays.
Vitamin D.
Yeah,
The
that's
real
right.
D.
Vitamin D, it's hormones, that's thing, and it's free, so taking a step outside. I think it's really good that like things that you take from granted before are like, oh shit, I really can't devalue this now and take it for granted. So I appreciate and sort of be in the moment. I think the key buzzword that us millennials are using is mindfulness.
Boom.
Mindfulness. So that's what we are trying to encounter day to day. And in the fitness world, be mindful. Get off your phone. Treat it like it's a comedy club where you put your phone in this pencil case and then just put it away and then focus mainly on just the workout.
Yeah, I think celebrating the small wins can help a lot of people push through the hard times. Just speaking about in the fitness industry, when you're working out so hard and you're not seeing all the progress that you want to see, right? You want to squat heavy and then you just magically think that your butt's going to get bigger, or you do like 3 sets of hard bicep curls and you're like, shit, my biceps are going to look big. You wake up the next day, you actually look smaller because you don't have the pump anymore. So I think for me, it's like, celebrating the small wins, appreciating the little things that you're doing on a daily, because you never know, maybe in a year, 2 or 3 years later, you're going to look completely different. And I think this also applies to different areas of our life, right? So appreciating the small wins, like you said, maybe going on a walk on a Sunday because you have a busy schedule from Monday to Friday. That's a small win. You got
Right.
some activity down. So I think that if there's a message that I want to put out on this episode, is basically that. It's celebrating the small wins, making sure that you appreciate yourself, and you can also encourage yourself to move through long periods of time with small wins that will always accumulate to a big win.
Absolutely. I really think like when things are going slower and we are not recovering as we used to be, I think like, hey, it has a special value to us in our lives. I'm like, I'm not gonna take this for granted.
Yep.
Let's enjoy waking up and not being hungover for once. Being sober, being mindful, being present.
Oh, and doing the right things.
That's
Speaking
right.
of right things,
Segue.
what do you think about kettlebell juggling?
Kettlebell jugglings. And this leads into our next segment. Pros and cons. Graphics.
Yeah, graphics.
That's cue for graphics. All right.
There should be like sparkles coming down your screen right
Hold
now.
for editing team to cue graphics.
I could do something in the back to
Boom.
Yeah. So
Thoughts on kettlebell juggling, since you guys are professionals at IPA for kettlebells.
So let's go over now. I definitely have a lot to say as being RKC team leader. I've the Russian kettlebell certification. Sorry for that bad accent. That is true. I should drink vodka right now.
Oh.
That is true. Made in the USA vodka. So, before I say anything, I want to know your pros and cons of kettlebell juggling.
Oh.
Like, what do you see? Because I definitely have opinions on it. But what are your first impressions on it? What do you see from
So
it?
I'm gonna start with the pros first, and my pros list is so long that it's probably gonna take up this whole episode. And the pros list of kettlebell juggling is that it provides eyes and interest for people who don't work out to learn kettlebells. The cons, that's probably the last thing you should be learning on a kettlebell, is juggling the damn thing, because if you miss and you hit it on your toe, you lose your toe.
I must have misread the meeting notes. I thought like you had no pros for it whatsoever. I think
that list was long.
I feel like I'm gaslighted. Like I felt like I read Manny pros. I don't see any
then
cons.
boom.
Here you go. Here's the list.
But anyway, that my pros is one. I think I have to have a pro on this, and
Yeah.
I really think that the pro with kettlebell juggling is that it creates interest with people who never done kettlebell exercises before. It's kind of like saying Olympic weightlifting. You see Olympic weightlifting and you see somebody put like a bajillion kilos over their head. They're like, wow, that's cool. I want to work out. You do it. Or you watch the CrossFit games. Wow, these guys can do so many different things. I want to do CrossFit. Same thing with kettlebell juggling. You see somebody juggling kettlebell. Wow, that kettlebell is like flying all over the place. I want to do kettlebells. But the thing with all of those examples that I just did is that there is a point of entry, which is, learning the snatch. With CrossFit is learning the different types of movements. With the kettlebells, it's the same thing. It's like you're learning how to swing, put it over your head, bend over to the side and press it over the head. I think the drawback with every single example that I did is that you're trying to do the hardest thing that you see on the internet and replicate it, and that ultimately is going to kill you if you try to do it the first day that you step in. The cons, I can go on and on about it, and again, this is nothing against people who actually do kettlebell juggling, because I think that if you're putting it on the internet You're probably a little bit more versed with it, but I think the cons for the new people who want to do kettlebell juggling is the sheer. It's just dangerous, straight up. That's it.
I'm gonna compliment Sandwich this starting off with the pro, giving a little meaty cons burger, and then topping it off with a pro.
Oh.
All right. So I will say to start off, cons. It looks flashy. It looks cool. It is engaging with your eyes. You see it. I'm like, oh, that's kind of dope. It's very circusy, and I don't mean that in a negative context. I think when people go to the circus, they like to see some of the freak shows, and I mean that with all due respect, and I say that in a very endearing, positive way. We love to look at freak shows at the circus.
Yeah.
It's very intriguing. It's like the bearded lady. It's like
the guy with the crab hands.
Yeah. Strongman was a circus act.
Oh, yeah.
Elephants that were balancing on balls. That was in Dumbo. So I think it was very cool.
So that's a con.
No, it's a pro.
It's a pro.
It's pro.
Okay, it's a
we
pro.
love going back then. Barnum and Bailey's before they were canceled. It was a core memory unlocked for me.
Okay.
A good time to go with parents.
We don't condone animal abuse.
We don't.
Yeah, no.
Little did my 8-year-old.
They're canceled for a reason.
Right.
Yes.
I know
No
nothing of
animal
it.
abuse here.
But I had a good time when I watched. I will say that. Okay. But cons. Yes. Danger. Danger to yourself. Danger to others. Danger to the equipment. And whoever's floor, mirror, walls that are in that place.
Just
you know?
one drop.
One drop. Let it go. There goes your kettlebell. There goes your face. You know?
Some people actually need it, so.
Wow. Yes.
Yeah, no. Edit that out.
No.
Edit it out.
That's our Instagram reel.
Look what you did to me, man.
Instagram reel right there.
Oh
Boom.
my God, I'm learning
All right.
getting canceled on the internet because of you. You and your cowboy shirt today.
Wow.
Come on.
How dare you? I will say cons unnecessary. I think like the kettlebell is used for strength, conditioning, explosiveness, athletic potential, mobility, and it's just a valuable tool. Now I'm going to use it as a freak show in a negative context. Is that it's just that. It's just for the clout. You're garnering attention where it's not really what fitness is all about. I'll say this, and it's the way how I feel. It's not the way anyone else should feel, but it's the only way I feel. Like I feel like just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Agreed.
And that goes with a lot of things. And that's the way I view fitness. I feel like it should not be disrespected. Cons. How do you progress? All right. Do you progress from 12 kilo to 14? Is it 3 flips this week? Last week it was 2 flips under the legs instead of over your head. How do you progress that? There's no.
You just named it.
Oh, there you go.
That's the progression
3
list.
flips. Sure.
That's the progression list.
More is
That
always
not
a progression.
con. That is a pro. You can progress it. Eventually, you can get to 20 flips.
I guess. And I'll just say that I don't want to go all day, but cons is that you can't teach it in a mass setting. Absolutely. Like 10 people out of the room, how many have the capability to do the movements that you...
Imagine that, teaching a kettlebell flipping class. Like, all right, class, let's do 3 flips. And you see 3 kettlebells in the air.
You know what? I am very curious
crazy.
because I do see that kettlebell juggling is promoted by some of these kettlebell companies and they like to show it because it is flashy. Mm-hmm. But I wonder if these trainers and coaches do have a class that does that stuff.
Yeah.
And if it does, let's go.
I would...
That'll be a different section. Like, try this.
Yeah.
There you go.
I would be very interested to see anybody who does promote kettlebell juggling online to see their programs.
I'm open. Look, guys, I'm not. I'm like, look, I'm only saying what I'm saying, and this is how I feel. But I'm not talking shit. Better check the replay on that.
If you're going down, everybody's going down.
I will say I'm open. If you want to change my mind, I'm opening to having my mind being changed.
We have a ton of kettlebells here
Well, we're not doing it here.
at the movement hub. so-
I will go to your place. I will use anything for a tax write-off.
There was grass and like nothing breakable.
Grass, sand, the park. Not my gym. Not these brick walls.
have some like fencing around you,
Yeah.
make sure nobody gets hurt.
But I will say, to end off on a pro,
Ooh, there's a sandwich.
there's my sandwich. Start off with a compliment. End with a compliment. I will say that it's beneficial for dexterity, hand-eye coordination, timing, and improves athletic awareness, spatial awareness. What's the magic word in personal training?
So, yeah. I'm not even gonna guess.
Proprioception. It's proprioception I haven't used since I was a personal trainer at this box gym. And it was one of those words that personal trainers use to sound very smart. It's a very douchey, condescending word. Like, how dare you use this big word, the big Merriam-Webster dictionary word. Proprioception. It means awareness of your body in time and space.
It's very Star Trek.
Yes. I mean, we're just space dust in a rock that's revolving around a star.
Wow.
Yeah.
Astrology 101 for you.
It's very Sagittarius of me to say, but yeah.
But anyway, all in all, that is our thoughts about kettlebell juggling. Again, it's not the end of the world if you do kettlebell juggle.
Do what you want.
If it honestly, for me, if it makes you work out and do some kind of fitness, I'm all for it. Just make sure that you don't miss that kettlebell when you throw it in the air, because you're gonna lose your toe.
We don't want you to get hurt, but we're not telling you what to do. All right? I'm a big believer in freedom and independence. So, by all means, follow whatever your heart desires.
Just like a scholar. Had to end it off on that note. And that's the episode, guys.
Cheers,
Catch you on
mate.
the next one.
Salud.
Salute.
39 minutes.
That was approximately how much we did last time.
All right, I'm pressing stop right here.
Stop is good.
Changing wardrobe.